Все нормально?
Ну, 40 секунд у мене, давай. Що ти далі? Славік, принеси мені води. Чуєш? Воду. Стаканчик.
Добрий день.
Good afternoon, my name is Hola Atamanova and it's my pleasure to see everyone who joins us in Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform. It's day 636 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor, and today we celebrate the Day of Dignity and Liberty in Ukraine. Today is the 10th anniversary of Euromaidan of Dignity. 10 years ago, Ukraine has made its European choice, and we continue fighting for our European democratic values and for our freedom on a daily basis. We remember everyone who laid their lives for the sake of the freedom of our people. Also today we celebrate the Day of the Air Assault Forces of Ukraine, and on behalf of all of the team of Ukraine Media Center, we want to thank the representatives of Air Assault Forces for the great job they're doing. And joining us today online is Yuriy Ignat, the spokesperson of the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mr. Yuriy, let's start with this night's attack by the Russians. We know that they tried to inflict another strike on us, so can you please tell us in brief about the operation of our air defense forces? Well, it's not that they attempted, they continued their activity. Currently there's a lot of them in the airspace. We observe about 5 Su-35, Su-34, Su-30. Also there are A-50 and helicopters in the air, along with other targets. They use the guided aviation bombs, and also we may expect launches of the guided aviation missiles. Also our forces keep working on the targets. And talking about this night's attack, we have 9 out of 10 destroyed Shaheds. They were launched from Krasnodar region. This is where they launched the majority of their drones. 9 out of 10 is a good result. Obviously, it's not every time that we achieve such a result in terms of destruction of the UAVs. It all depends on the direction of the strike, on the concentration of them in this or that region, or in concentration of our air defense capabilities. You know, now the mobile teams keep working better and better. They ensure better and better result every time using different types of weapons. Also our interceptors and fighter jets worked quite well this night. Also the enemy used a cruise missile this night, Iskander K-type. It was destroyed in the eastern area by our air defense forces. It's a difficult target, but we managed to down them. Also the enemy inflicted damage on technical infrastructure and a hospital in the area in the Donetsk region near the front line. So this is the summary for the night. And the activity of the Russian aviation, well, I've already mentioned it. Mr. Yuriy, is it safe to say that comparing with the last year, the number of such attacks has decreased, and what can it tell us about? Well, you know, it's an ambiguous question. I wouldn't say the number of their attacks decreased. There are even new types of weapons added this like last year they were not using guided aviation bombs. Obviously, they only fly 20 to 30 kilometers in the depth of a territory from the front line, but sometimes they use up to 100 of such munitions. So I wouldn't say that even regardless of the fact that they don't use the missiles, that it's easier to counter this violent, cowardly enemy now. Obviously, last year we had a lot of Soviet manufactured equipment. Almost all types of them were Soviet, because first NASAMS and first IRIS-Ts, we had only one unit equipped with them, even under-equipped. We didn't have sufficient number of launchers for IRIS-T, and also we had 2 units of NASAMS that we got in October last year. We had 2 batteries that were under-equipped with the launchers, but they were the first Western specimens that were added, and that started defending our airspace, started from October. That demonstrated quite good results that made us rejoice, like 100% of destruction of air targets. Now we have way more of such systems that in some directions they already misplace the Soviet material. Well, technically saying, because we cannot continue using the obsolete types of weapons incessantly. Everything we had, we continue using it. However, the ammunition and the functionality of the material is being exhausted, and our partners, our Western allies, help us to replenish our reserves of S-300 and spare parts from the countries from which those parts and munitions are available. But you understand that their reserves are not infinite either. So this is why we continue getting more and more Western specimens of air defense capabilities, starting with different types of weapons for the mobile groups and all the way up to air defense systems that we have in our air defense forces. Key air defense systems that will be foundation of or backbone of our air defense. It will be Patriot, SAM-T, IRIS-T, and NASAMS will be the ones that will become a shield of our air defense forces. Then the other types will be spread about other cores and branches that will reinforce the branches. Also, we will have the mobile teams added, and we know that our partners in our American partners in cooperation with our specialist adapted the American rocket Sea Sparrows for Russian Buk M1 launchers. Now they can use those rockets autonomously. Like one launcher can work with those rockets covering this or that infrastructure facility. It's a significant reinforcement, and the problem is only in quantity, so that our manufacturing facilities can ensure the full replenishment with such systems. Well, Mr. Yuriy, recently the president ordered to find the solution for the problem with Russian MiG aircraft. Is there any solution found for them? Well, I know that the leading specialists and the top-level officials are looking for the solution. It's the matter of responsibility, matter of security, matter of human lives. This is why the work is still underway. We need still to find a mechanism, that solution that would be satisfactory. But I commented this situation many times already. People want to understand how it will be happening. The education, economy, and operation of the state is being blocked by all those long flights by the Russian MiGs. So what will be the solution? Let's wait for it. And I think that the air forces will continue informing on the population on all the threats, just like we do. We will inform everyone publicly through our Telegram channels and other media. Mr. Yuriy, we were talking a lot in the studio about F-16, and recently you mentioned that the commissioning of F-16 can change the situation on the front lines. So for the understanding of our listeners, can we talk through those agreements once again? Well, you know, I would like to start with the fact that someone started doubting that F-16 would be of any help, but excuse me, we're talking about this for 2 years. Why is it necessary? What is it capable of? Well, first of all, it's the advantage in the air. The guided aviation bombs that we started our conversation with. I mentioned 100-500 kilograms guided aviation bombs per day. You can only imagine what our troops are experiencing. This is why we have to ensure the advantage in the air, in the areas along the forward edge of the battle area. We have to push the Russian occupiers further from the forward edge. I told you what was the number of the tactical aviation aircraft in the air. Su-34, Su-35 helicopters. F-16 will help ensure the control of the airspace, but given it's not the old version of F-16, there are different phases of modernization of F-16. This is why we need F-16 that would be capable of countering Russian Su aircraft on par. It's the long-range radar and aviation weapons that can inflict damage on the Russian materiel. Those aircraft in our skies will help push the enemy away from the forward edge of the battle area and also protect the skies above Ukraine in the depth of the territory against drones, against missiles. We would be able to inflict damage on the enemy rear, on their logistics, which helps them and supports them. Well, you've probably seen the news yesterday from the Ministry of Defense, where there was a meeting with our partners, and we've created a special institution that would take care of transition and adaptation for F-16. We're talking about training, preparation of infrastructure, all of the logistical systems that will be necessary for adaptation of the F-16 aircraft of the Western specimens in Ukraine. It's called a roadmap, let's put it like this, or as our Western partners want to hear it from us, that we have a clear plan of actions, clear plan for the long term, not for today, but for long term. We're not going to take those aircraft like to borrow them until the end of the war, but it will be the main type of aircraft in our air forces. We have to continue thinking about training process, about incessant, uninterrupted training of the specialists. This is why the training centers that are deployed in our partner countries for the time being, and we should start thinking about deployment of such centers in Ukraine as well. So it's a very profound question. This is why the preparation is going on in such a, I would say, not so quick way. And now that I've touched upon the training, let's talk about the training. Some of the pilots are already undergoing training in the air in Denmark with the instructors on F-16 aircraft. Previously they were the light NATO specimen aircraft that help switch to F-16 easier, so now they fly with the instructors. Every day the number of pilots, well, maybe not every day, but every week the number of Ukrainian pilots who undergo such training is growing. Those who touch the controls of the F-16, fulfilling those tasks that are set by the instructors. And the next phase will be flights without instructor, and then we will be able to proceed to battle flights, so they learn how to fight with this plane. Also, the pilots are training in Great Britain, not only pilots but also the maintenance officers, also the United States of America, Arizona, this is where our pilots are being trained as well, and others who wait for their turns. They're doing their homework in Ukraine. They can start training with the aviation simulators, which are available in all of the Air Force brigades. Those are the simulators that allow getting familiarized with an aircraft on the ground with the minimal availability of gauges and indicators. And English language is something that our guys can learn at home, so they learn the material easier abroad. So it's a homework, and as the pilots say, it on a daily basis is mixed with the battle operations. In the night they hunt for missiles and drones that our Air Force destroys in coordination with the air defense forces. And during the day is the infliction of strikes using the rockets and bombs on the enemy. Thank you, Mr. Yuriy. We have questions on the floor. Good afternoon. Ukrinform, Iran has demonstrated the new drone Shahed 238. What does it mean for Ukraine? Does it mean that Russia is trying to arrange the supply of this type of drones to Russia from Iran? Well, nobody is gonna tell you about any details about any negotiations between Russia and Iran regarding this drone. Iran has demonstrated it. You see, Iran creates a lot of UAVs, unfortunately for us, and obviously they will continue working with the occupier. This type of UAV, it was presented by the manufacturer. We only have information from the Iranian side as to the characteristics of the previous versions of Shaheds 136 and 131. Now we only have that information that it has a jet engine, it has different types of targeting and target acquisition, like radio, laser acquisition. Well, we can only say when we get it, if God forbid it emerges somewhere in Ukraine and our specialists land it and put it apart, well, we understand that it has a jet engine, it will be faster, it will be using some composite materials, because Russia and Iran both try to modernize their material. They try to make it better, just like Ukrainian side does. The war teaches us, we identify the shortcomings, the defects that are being rectified in battle conditions. You've seen they are of black color, which will complicate the work of the raiders and air defense forces during nighttime against such UAVs, because you understand the dark against the dark background is not so visible. But I'm sure we'll find solution for such a complicated problem, just like we were finding solutions for other problems. There are more questions on the floor. Thank you. According to the Ukrinform, Ukraine launched the manufacturing of Shahed equivalent with a range of about 1,000 kilometers. Can you please tell us when they will be used? Well, we have different types of munitions in Air Force. We have Furious, Keaton, all those UAVs that were used by us previously, other loitering munitions that are used by all types and branches of the defense forces. Well, talking about those UAVs, those are good news for all of the Ukraine. They shouldn't be launched like in serial manufacturing, but mega serial. We have access to the technologies. The work is underway by the Western partners to provide us with technologies to make the UAVs less visible for an eye and for electronic countermeasures. Well, it will be of Ukrainian manufacture. It can be used against Russian facilities in the depth of Russia, against Russian substations, against Russian oil depots, and against military base, even in the territory of occupiers' country. If it's our obligation to use Western weapons only within the territory of Ukraine to liberate our occupied territories, Ukrainian weapons is something that we can use to inflict strikes in the enemy territory. I would like those good news to be not just the news, but that they become true on a large scale. Thank you very much, Mr. Yuriy, for finding time to join our broadcast. I'm reminding you, dear colleagues, joining us was Yuriy Ignat, the spokesperson of the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and our next briefing will be at 13 o'clock. We will be talking about the fuel market in Ukraine, so stay tuned. We continue working together for our victory. Glory to Ukraine.